Make no mistake, summer 2022 is the most insane season of anime I have seen in my entire history of anime viewing. There is just so much stuff, not just coming back, but so many new titles that you should be really looking out for. And I know it's a lot to go through, so this video is especially for people that just need to figure out, navigate what is to come, because again, like I said, besides some big hitters returning like Overlord, Devil's a Part-Timer, Shadow House, Maid in the Abyss, so much more, there is still some good titles to be had here that aren't returning shows. So stick around, we'll be jumping through my top 10 most exciting new shows coming up, as well as talking about the returning shows, some remakes, some continuing shows, all that stuff in this video. So if you're interested, definitely stay tuned. Let's just get right into it. Let's start jumping into this because we have a lot to go through. Let's start off with Call the Night. This is a series that is an adaptation of a manga that's coming up. It's being done by Studio Leiden Films. And if you're a big fan of Toga from My Hero Academia, this character looks very familiar. But yes, it's a vampire series that looks really fantastic. The PV they released for it just had a great style to it, and I cannot wait to jump into the series. The synopsis is: racked by insomnia and wanderlust, Ko is driven onto the moonlit streets every night in an aimless search for something he can't seem to name. His nightly ritual is marked by purposeless introspection, until he meets Nazuna, who might just be a vampire. Ko's new companion could offer him dark gifts and a vampire's immortality, but there are conditions that must be met before Ko can sink his teeth into vampirism. And he'll have to discover just how far he's willing to go to satisfy his desires before he can heed the call of the night. Some great people working on this series include Tomoyuki Itamura, who of course is known for doing the Monogatari series, as well as the case study of Vanitas, were both fantastic series that were directed phenomenally. And the series composition is being done by Michiko Yokote, who has done a lot of really great titles that I couldn't even begin to list. For my next one I want to highlight is When Will Ayumu Make His Move? Now this is a series that is done by the creator Soichiro Yamamoto, who is of course known for doing TZ Master Takagi-san and here recently In the Heart of Konoichi Sabaki, which are both really great series that have a lot of really cute characters and just shenanigan situations. So I'm always looking forward to what this writer does next. This is a story about a two-person shogi club. The senpai of this club is obsessed with shogi and making her expressionless kohai confess. It feels like it's going to be playing off a little bit into the TZ Master Takagi-san formula, but from a different kind of vantage point of characters, very different acting characters. Obviously the expressionless kohai, who is the male character, and this girl that's trying to push his buttons. The director behind this one's fantastic as well. They've worked on Fate Collide line of Prisma Ilya, as well as Chahi-sama Will Not Be Defeated. And we have series composition by Hitomi Ueno, who has done a lot of fantastic stuff, including Snow White with the Red Hair, as well as Flying Witch, and a ton more. Let's get some garbage in here. Why not? Why not have some fun here? There is a trash fire coming up, and it's not just Rent a Girlfriend Season 2. Yes, we have My Stepsister is My Ex-Girlfriend, or My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex, whichever title you want to go with. And yes, as the title would lead you to believe, this is going to be a series that's about these two that were boyfriend and girlfriend at some point, but then they had a little falling out. And then yeah, their parents remarry and just so happens to each other's parents. So obviously this is going to be, again, a huge dumpster fire of fun. But I really do like the fact that the character designs really do remind me of Higehiro, which has some really cute character designs. And I think that's because a little bit of that rubbed off on Project Number 9 that worked on that. And yes, there's going to be a lot of ecchi in here. It's already showing it in the PV, and I'm sure they're going to do a great job because the director that's working on it did Angel 3P, Never Girl Online. Ryo's work is never done, so they're experiencing that stuff whether you like it or hate it. And again, we also have Hitomi Ueno is going to be working on this one as well, and she is a phenomenal series composition writer. When I was checking through all the PVs of the next season, definitely Cyberpunk jumped to mind, but one of the other one that had a phenomenal PV that really did grab attention is Engage Kiss. Obviously, it seems like A1 Pictures is putting a huge amount of budget into the series, and it looks fantastic. But not only that, but the characters already look like they're gonna be a lot of fun. The anime is set in Beilong City, an artificial city established outside of the country's jurisdiction in the Pacific Ocean to exploit local natural resources. In particular, the mining of a new energy resource has resulted in an outbreak of disasters by demons in the city. Private military companies are tasked with dealing with these incidents. The protagonist, Shu, runs one of these small companies, though his spending habits have left him penniless. A demon girl named Kisara does contract work with Shu's office, and is constantly worried about him. And like I said, the PV looks phenomenal. This girl, I'm guessing, is Kisara. I'm not sure if that's exactly her name. This pink-haired girl in the PV looks like she's going to be a load of fun. She's definitely cute. It just looks like it has a great little bit of chemistry in here, some crazy action, and a decent plot line that hopefully will drive it forward. And it's interesting to note that the writer behind this is Fumiaki Maruto, who is of course known for doing Saikano How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, White Album, and Classroom Crisis. Moving on to one that I've been keeping an eye out for a long time, and that is the Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting. This looks like it's going to be just wholesome incarnate. Now, I thought originally that it was going to be more comedy driven, but based on the PV, it just looks like it's going to be very laid back and very cute. The story is about Toru, who is the right-hand man of Sakuragi's crime family. For him, the job is a perfect excuse to let his violent instincts run wild, earning him the nickname of the Demon of Sakuragi. It seems like nothing will stand in the way of this vicious nature. But then one day, he receives an assignment like never before from the boss: babysit his daughter. This is the heartwarming story of a little girl and her Yakuza caretaker. It looks absolutely adorable. I was a little concerned when I first heard that Kenjiro Tsuda was not going to voice the male role in this entire thing, but after hearing who they selected, he just fits that perfect nature of this very wholesome story that it looks like it's going to be telling. This is another one that has a great team behind it. We have the director that did Listen to Me, Girls, I'm Your Father, Be the Beginning, and Magical Girl Ore. So it's got a nice little mixture of stuff there between wholesome, comedy, and yeah, some little bit of action if we might possibly have that here. And we also have the series composition writer that did Hinamatsuri and Demon Girl Next Door, so super good at wholesome and again, some subtle beats there. The next one is the hugest surprise for me this season coming up. As I'm going through the whole list, I'm looking for who's behind things that's going to shock me. The stuff that I've never seen anything on it, and now suddenly I am all eyes on it. And that is definitely Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. Now, stick with me here. You'll find out why in a minute. The synopsis is one day, college student Yuhi is approached by talking lizard Surnoi Crescent. Crescent immediately launches into a fantastical story. The powerful mage Animus intends to destroy the Earth with his Biscuit Hammer, a huge contraption looming high in the Earth's orbit. Earth's only hope lies with the princess and her beast knights, whose task is to protect the princess and defeat Animus. Yuhi is chosen as the lizard beast knight, and despite his misgivings, is quickly forced to defend himself against golems created by the mage. He is saved by his neighbor, the Princess Asahi Samidare, and swears loyalty to her. However, the princess does not intend to save the Earth at all. She lets Yuhi in on her real motivations to prevent Animus from destroying the Earth, only to then annihilate the planet by her own hands. The pair continue to fight off attacks by Animus' golems, while the remaining beast knights are slowly being gathered and learning to use their own powers. But Yuhi himself will have to decide if he's going to go along with Asahina's plans. Now, the big question mark a lot of you out there have is this sounds really dorky. And I had that same thought process. This looks dorky. But as I was watching the PV, a thing popped in my head. This looks like Planet With. Somebody in here, studio, character design, somebody is Planet With. And sure enough, the creator is the creator behind Planet With, Satoshi Mizukami. And for those who don't know what Planet With is, please go watch that show. It is a show that is so good at having multiple layers of storytelling slowly peeling away over time. Having this base knowledge when you come into it, where essentially you were following the bad guy of the story, and then over time, revealing different things about different characters, motivations, revenge, justice, injustice, all these things that it told so phenomenally well. Planet With was easily one of my favorite shows that year, and it goes down as one of the most greatest hidden gems I have ever found. If you've not watched Planet With, please go watch it. But if you don't plan on it, at least know that if this writer is not just one of those people that has like lightning in a bottle once, this show will have something in it that will be phenomenal. And I cannot wait to dive into this. Moving on to some more fun stuff, we have the maid I hired recently is mysterious, or as I like to joke about calling it, recently my maid is unusual. Just because the title's similar. I don't think it's gonna have anything to do with that show. But this one's synopsis is there's something really strange about the maid I just hired. No normal person could be so beautiful, or cook such amazingly delicious food, or know exactly what I want before I ask. She must be using magic, right? The spell is the only thing I can explain why my chest feels so tight whenever I look at her. I swear, I'm going to get to the bottom of what makes my maid so mysterious. You know what that is, dude. She's tan girl, and she's hot. That's why you want that. She looks gorgeous. Now, the cool thing about this whole thing, and the other thing that gets me really excited about this, is the creator and the team behind this is literally the team behind Jahi-sama Will Not Be Defeated. Now, Jahi-sama Will Not Be Defeated is not a perfect show, but it has some really good stuff in there, and I really love their character designs. And just based on the PV alone, I'm already loving the artwork. The eyes just get me, and yes, tan girl, best girl, and the writer knows how to create some really gorgeous looking characters. So make no mistake, I will be checking out the show, and I cannot wait for it. Hopefully it's in that teasing girl area. You're gonna have this hot maid, and she's gonna be teasing at this cute little boy, and he's just not gonna know what to do with it. And yes, there's some really great art out there of her already, so if you want to check that out. Moving on to our next show, we have Uncle from Another World. Now, this is a show that, as I keep looking into it, the more I kind of get excited. Now, I still have my pause around this series because I don't think the studio behind it's really that great, and I guess the narrative of it could really tell if it's going to be fantastic or just kind of a slouch. It essentially follows an uncle who gets hit by a vehicle, goes into a coma, and then when he finally wakes up, through his conversations with his nephew, we come to find out this guy was isekai'd. He was just, in another world the entire time he was in a coma, and he figures this out based on the idea that this elf in this other world that he describes sounds like a tsundere, this concept that wasn't really popularized until after he was put under a coma. And then based on the PV, it looks like it's going to get even more crazier. It seems like it's going to be really kind of focused on this uncle who's kind of trapped in his old persona, this persona that he had in this other world of being a mage and stuff. And yeah, about this elf that he had always kind of traveled with. Everything kind of points to signs of a really funny take on an isekai, and really kind of more focusing on this character and the shenanigans that kind of follow his kind of almost split personality, and maybe the stories that he tells about his previous life, or the life that he had in this isekai world. Now, the other big pause that I have for this is the unfortunate nature of its licensing. Yes, Netflix picked the sucker up, so it's gonna be a while before we get to see this, unfortunately, unless you go through different routes like VPNs or something. But either way, it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's got a solid series composition writer behind it, somebody that did Miroko-chan and Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy, which I loved both of those shows. But yes, its release, unfortunate, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving on, we have our show that's going to make everybody cry, probably, and that is Prima Doll. Yes, Prima Doll, this is the offering from the famous studio Key. Yes, Key, the studio that brought you such great works as Clannad, Angel Beats, Little Busters, these shows that bring you in with the characters and then show tragedy just to break your heart. It's one of those things of why do we keep doing this to ourselves, but I am definitely looking forward to this just based on the people working on it itself. The synopsis is Prima Doll is a project which centers on autonomous mechanical dolls, or automata. They work at Kuronekote, a coffee shop that sits on the corner of the 5th District and the Imperial Capital. However, they were originally made as weapons for a great war that ended a few years ago. Now they have been restored and dressed in shiny kimonos. I just have to say, get ready for these characters to be really cute, a lot of fun. The PV already shows them really, really cute. And then probably eventually either the war kicks back up, or they start talking about these really crazy dark moments they had in the war just to break our hearts and make us cry. It's Key. It's gonna be that way. And for the last new show that I'm gonna highlight is Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This series looks absolutely incredible. Obviously, Trigger is working on it, so they're going absolutely ballistic with the animation. It looks incredible. The PV just blew me away. But of course, yes, based on the video game, which didn't launch so well. Hopefully this one doesn't have the same problems. Hopefully you don't have to patch the anime. But Cyberpunk Edgerunners tells a standalone story about a street kid trying to survive in a technology and body modification obsessed city of the future. Having everything to lose, he chooses to stay alive by becoming an edge runner, a mercenary outlaw also known as a cyberpunk. It's good to know that this series has a really solid director working on it. We have Hiroyuki Imaishi, who of course worked on Gurren Lagann, Panty and Stocking, and Kill la Kill, so a really phenomenal director working on it. And again, it's Studio Trigger, so it's going to look absolutely phenomenal. Now, this is also on Netflix, but thankfully this is one of those ones where they're kind of putting it together and dropping it all at once. So there's going to be no delay there, and yes, that desire to go sneak it from other directions. And that's it. That's all the exciting new shows that I want to highlight for right now. Additionally, we also have some remakes/returns that are coming, as well as Ruby Ice Queendom, which looks like it has a team behind it that is going to do some insane stuff. We have a lot of really big names working on this project. And yes, of course, this is based off of Monty Ohm's Ruby series, and it's going to be fully animated. It looks really great so far based on the PVs. It looks a little flat, but at the same time, a lot of the action pieces and animation look like they're going to be phenomenal. And yes, some really good seiyus that are working on it as well. I haven't checked out the old Ruby series, and so this is going to be my introduction into it, and I'm extremely excited for it. Yes, and the one that I am super excited about is the return of Tokyo Mew Mew New. Now, this is a series that when everybody else had their Sailor Moon fandom, I had Tokyo Mew Mew. Tokyo Mew Mew was my thing. Now, the only unfortunate thing about this series so far is that it looks like it's going to have nothing but new seiyus working on it, which does give me a little bit of pause. I would have liked them to have gotten some established seiyus working on it, but I'll wait to see. It could be that they can come out there and just be phenomenal from the get-go. Additionally, Strike Witch is coming back, and it's not getting done by a studio that's going to destroy the name. It seems like all we've gotten recently for Strike Witches is from these really bad studios that did some really bad OVAs and stuff on the side. And now we have Shaft coming out here saying, here's Luminous Witches, and it looks really great. I am definitely looking forward to this series coming back. I've always loved Strike Witches. Yes, I like it's ecchi and everything too. And it looks great. It looks like they are really going to be coming out swinging with this series. It does look like it's going to be taking sort of an idol twist to it, so I'll definitely be looking forward to that. It's more Strike Witches. But like I mentioned earlier, and I've been alluding to it for a long time, yes, the returning shows is pretty much half the excitement of this next season. We finally have the return of Devil as a Part-Timer with its second season. Now, I haven't personally gone and checked out the first season. I was wanting to before the season came around, so I'll probably be a little late to the game, but I definitely want to get caught up to be ready for that second season. Yes, the Trash Fire returns. Rent-A-Girlfriend's coming back, so if you're ready to see a guy basically NTR himself in his own mind over and over again, be ready for that. I think everybody's excited for it, even though we all acknowledge that it's just absolute garbage. And yes, Overlord is coming back finally after 4 years. We get a return of Overlord with seasons 4, and I cannot wait for this show to come back. I think Momonga is one of the most fascinating isekai characters. Overlord has been one of my favorite isekais of all time, and I just cannot wait for more of this world, the characters, and everything in it. For fans of Classroom the Elite, yes, that series is coming back for its second season. I wasn't a huge fan of the first season. I do want to go back and rewatch it to see if my mind has changed on the series. I heard that the upcoming stuff is really phenomenal, so I'm definitely excited for everybody for that. And yes, Maid in Abyss. Yes, Maid in Abyss is coming back. I cannot wait. I adore Maid in Abyss, even though, again, it's kind of like the key stuff where it hurts you too. But it's such a fascinating world. I've been avoiding all the PVs for this upcoming season because I don't want to spoil a single thing about it. But oh my gosh, I just cannot wait for the series to come back. Danmachi, more harem fun. Now, granted, based on the PV and stuff, I have not seen the title Harem Girl. Like, typically every season has a new Harem Girl to be added, and I haven't seen one for this one. So I'll be curious to see if a new harem member will be added, but we'll see. But it's more harem goofy fun. I really loved the show when it first came out. The first season was phenomenal. I've been kind of dropping off on it, getting a little lukewarm on it, but I'm hoping that it'll come back swinging and I'll get right back into it. Yes, Shadow House. Cannot wait. I loved Shadow House Season 1 so much. I just had so much fun diving into it. I did some really fun episode-by-episode impressions of the series. There was so much intrigue around this world, and I cannot wait for more of this series and more of my Sunshine character. So I'm definitely looking forward to more Shadow House. Yojohan Time Machine Blues is coming back. Unfortunately, that is stuck in Disney Plus hell, so good luck to people checking out that series. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. Kakaguriri is coming back with twins, and that looks like it's going to be great. Technically, it's a spin-off manga that follows one of my favorite characters of the original series, so I'm actually looking forward to that, if anything. Again, that's another one that's going to be on Netflix, a full drop, so keep that in mind. And yes, Utawaramono is coming back. I really love the first season of Utawaramono. I was a little bit let down by the new sequels that were coming out for it, but I'm looking forward to what it does next because it started to ramp up into something that was more in line with the original series. So I'm cautiously optimistic about it. And that's it for the returners that I really want to highlight. Of course, we also have continuations of Summertime Rendering, which I think is going to be anime of the year for me. I am just loving it to death. We have a couple of cuckoos still continuing as well. Aoashi, which is a fantastic sports show. If you have not been watching that yet, jump into that. Additionally, Kingdom 4 is continuing on, as well as Onipan will be continuing as well. And that's not to get into the ONAs and movies. We have One Piece film Red coming out. Tsunade movie is apparently coming out. That seemed like it was announced a long time ago. That's finally coming coming out. I don't blame them for the delay. Obviously, with the tragedy that happened with Kyoto Animation, I'm sure that set them back quite a bit. And yes, of course, we have Dr. Stone Ryusui is coming out as well, so definitely keep an eye out for that one. And that's it. That's all I'm going to go over. There's still a ton more that I could talk about, but that's the ones that I chose to highlight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's going to be an insane summer season coming around the corner, and I cannot wait for it. It's scary at the same time exciting. It's scary because how are you going to watch all this stuff? It's so much stuff to consume. Additionally, I hope that you guys will join me for that. If you've not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do first impressions of all the shows of the seasons. I do reviews. I do episode by episode impressions of certain shows that I find really interesting that I can dive into and really, sink my teeth into. Additionally, if I've earned your support, I would definitely appreciate if you guys share this video, support us through Patreon or through our tips link in the description below. We also have a super thanks button down there. I definitely appreciate all of your support, and y'all take care.